What's up, guys? Rick here with your betting and one and done preview for this week's Valero Texas Open. In this video, we're going to go through outright winners, some options from the tournament simulator, this event that I simulated 1,000 times. We're going to look at head-to-head matchups, see if there's any value there. We're going to talk about one and done results and standings, and then strategy for this week. Trying to think what else there is. Live chats Wednesday, 2 of them, 3 p.m. Eastern time on the RickRunGood YouTube channel. That is the Valero Texas Open live chat standard, as we do every week. Ownership, weather, all that good stuff. And then the Jock Market Power Hour, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time on the RickRunGood YouTube channel. That is Stock Market DFS. It is a ton of fun. All right, let's just stop it there. Let's go to the bets and one and done. All right, so on Monday, it happened again. And what I'm showing you is the tournament predictor. This is the tool on RickRunGood.com that simulates the event 1,000 times and looks at the results. And then we compare it to the Vegas odds, and we see if there is any value. Dustin Johnson withdraws. So he opened up at 7-1. He was the favorite to win this event. Odds had already come out. Pricing had already come out on DraftKings, at least for DFS purposes, and he's out. So now where we stand is Tony Finau at 11-1 is your favorite. Jordan Spieth right behind at 12-1. Scotty Scheffler at 14, and then you get Corey Connors, Hideki Matsuyama at 18. The movement was essentially by my tracking, about 2 points for every single guy. I think Finau went from 13 to 11. Spieth went from 14 to 12. Scheffler from 16 to 14, etc. Down to basically just, I think, maybe Abraham Answer. It's not like the entire field got moved, but the big boys each got 2 points shaved off their number. It's, we've now seen this, I want to say 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months or so, 3 months or so. We had John Rahm, I believe, withdraw from a field. We had DJ now twice withdraw from a field as the favorite, as historically short in some cases. At Pebble Beach, he was historically short. And being able to maybe fire in a bet on Monday in the few minutes after that news comes out is incredibly valuable. But I found myself, if I want to bet a favorite, if I want to bet one of like the 5 shortest guys in the field, I've found myself doing that more often Monday morning than I ever have in the past. And because if you are going to bet, say you like Jordan Spieth this weekend, I mean, some places I think had him at like 16-1. Now he's down to 12 after the DJ news. If you would have gotten him at 16, you get this built-in value. So I don't think you have to do that for every single bet you want to make, but I think if you're going to bet one of the top guys, I lean doing it more earlier because you might get something like this that happens, and if it doesn't, you still have the guy that you want at the number that you thought was good. So I don't think there's any harm in it. Looking at this week and looking at the tournament simulator. So I was a little bit surprised with the results, but I can try to explain what I think happened here. Hideki Matsuyama and Tony Finau are 2 guys who win this tournament in my simulator over 10% of the time. The big one being Hideki, because the 18-1 number that you can get on Hideki Matsuyama, it implies that he's going to win this golf tournament 5.4% of the time. Well, he won my simulations twice that. Right? Twice as often, 10.7. And the simulator does a lot of things. It likes volatility, which is good for Hideki. It's good for, like, you see some of these names pop up kind of often. Like Sepp Straka is always on this list because he's incredibly volatile. The model likes volatility because you have to have a ceiling week to win a golf tournament, to actually win. So it likes volatility in that sense. And it also tries to identify trends a little bit and try to identify guys that are rounding the corner and laying the blueprint. So let me show you Hideki Matsuyama's strokes gained numbers here. So this is just from the Holy Grail. You can go and look at his logs for every single tournament. And after this stretch of golf from, let's call it the start of 2021 for his first 5 starts or so, he wasn't really great with the irons. And then what you're starting to see is this trend where he is gaining strokes on approach again, 2 or 3, almost 4 a week for the last 4 weeks. And the putter, which is the one thing that has historically held Hideki Matsuyama back, is getting better. He's gained strokes in 3 of 5. 4 of them, if you add in the fourth, it was basically a 0 putter that week. And then in the bad putting week at the Players, that was just 2 rounds. He lost 1.7. So I think what the model is seeing here, or what the simulator is seeing, is a guy who is fairly volatile, which helps his number, and then also starting to lay the blueprint for the way that he could get to victory. You know, like, let's be real, some of these guys and their paths to victory are pretty small. You look at someone like, I don't want to pick a name, but there are definitely guys who, you know, if they're going to win a golf tournament, they're going to have to gain 12 shots putting or something like that. And it's just not going to happen. It's just never going to happen. So the model understands the different routes for these players to get there, and it must really like the path that Hideki is laying, which I think is interesting, because I think that's more realistic than just saying, hey, he's a good golfer, he's going to win this 10% of the time or whatever. It's what is Hideki's actual path to get there. Finau's path has always been very, very clear. It's what he has done countless times in his career to put himself on the first page of the leaderboard, 45 times in the last 5 years. And he just needs to get a Sunday that goes his way, or a week that goes his way. I mean, he's got plenty of top 5 finishes. He's got plenty of top 10 finishes. He's got plenty of runner-up finishes. It's just the model, of course, loves that, because he's put himself in position countless times. The one that I thought was interesting, pretty down on Spieth. 4.2% in my simulations, paying the price on him at now. I mean, it's actually even worse now. So because he's 12-1, the model has him at 14. There's negative expected value there. He's not winning the golf tournament as much as you would like him to. At least in my simulations, you don't have to bend the knee to the simulations. You can go do whatever you want. But it has concerns over Jordan Spieth winning this golf tournament enough, and that really is probably due in part to the fact that he hasn't won in 4 years, right? Like that's the problem. Tony Finau has a similar problem, but he has contended countless times since the last time that he won, and quite frankly, since the last time Jordan Spieth has won. So they're different. The model treats them differently, and Jordan Spieth does not get a very preferable number here, at least in terms of the model. But the model's also longer term. If you like what you've seen from Jordan Spieth in since the Farmers, which is really when he has turned things around, and you think that's enough to bet, and you're not thinking it's a look ahead week because of the Masters or anything like that, then go out and bet it. You don't have to follow this. This is really just a blueprint, a guideline. You don't have to follow. Maybe a blueprint you should follow exactly, but this is like an outline, a guideline. You don't have to follow it exactly. So here's what I did personally. I did get a bet in on Spieth at 16 before the number moved, so I was kind of locked into that. Then what I went down to do is, and he's still hanging at 40-41, is Brendan Steele. This to me, I don't know if he's going to win this golf tournament, but you talk about what the path for his success is, and he's showing it to us. He's been excellent in 2021. He's got these 8 consecutive cuts made. He's got the 2 top 4 finishes, 1 in his first start of the year and 1 in his most recent. So that's the Sony Open and the Honda Classic. He has won this event before. He's had 2 more top 10s since. I'm in a week where I think we're going to get a lot of course history love for guys like Charlie Hoffman, for even Corey Connors, our defending champion, for Chris Kirk. Brendan Steele has that great course history and is hanging a 41-1 number. That is, when I was scrolling through this on Monday, loved it, still love it, hasn't moved. I think that is the best of these kind of mid-tier plays, before you start getting to the 50s and into the longer shots and things like that. I recorded the First Cut podcast. That's the CBS Sports podcast that I host on Monday. And Sia Nejad, who was on, pointed out John Huh. And he's 70-1. And I wanted to do a deeper dive after Sia had brought him up. And the reason that he came up is because we sorted the Holy Grail, and we looked at guys from just the start of the calendar year of 2021, and we sorted by of strokes gained tee to green. And John Huh was like the third or fifth best player in this field, something like that. So I went back and I started to look, and I'm like, okay, what is he doing? Yeah, okay, yeah, he is playing really well from tee to green. He's gaining a bunch of strokes off the tee. He hasn't lost strokes off the tee since Houston. He's got a couple of weeks where he can get kind of nuclear with the irons. The around the green game has been strong, and it's the putter that's let him down. So I would not necessarily like John Huh as a potentially winning option, but I think where you could really get a decent number on him is in the top 20 market. So I see him currently at 2.5 to 1 to finish inside the top 20. That's something that he's been doing fairly often in this calendar year. Or if you think even more highly of him, he's 5.5 to 1 in the top 10 market. I'm not as bullish on the top 10 market. I think the top 20 market is something that he's much more comfortable with. I mean, since the Shriners, which was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 events ago, he's finished inside the top 20 5 times. So 5 of his last 9, he's finished. Well, one of them was a 21st, but you get my point. Like top 20 in 5 of his last 9, laying the blueprint. The problem is if he's going to putt like this, if he's going to lose 2 or 3 strokes putting, that's really going to cap his upside, which worries me about the top 10 stuff. But the top 20, I think, is much more reasonable at, what did I say, 2.5 to 1. There's also guys a little bit deeper. I did put a bet in on Andrew Putnam, who is, Andrew Putnam's just been Putnam, right? Like that's what he does. He just rolls the rock, but he's starting to get better in some of these other categories, right? So we're starting to see the ball striking come around a little bit. I mean, if you look at this stretch of golf from the Sony Open in 2020 to the Shriners in 2020, that was 10 months. 10 months. He gained strokes ball striking twice. And most weeks he was just hemorrhaging strokes all over the place. Now, the end of 2020 looks like he found something. He was starting to become an average ball striker, tour average. Lost a little bit here in the start of 2021. Now he's starting to turn it around again. He was great at API. He actually hit it well at the Players and missed the cut by losing strokes putting, which is something he's not necessarily going to do. So I think he's starting to turn the corner. This is kind of similar to what we saw when Denny McCarthy started playing really well, like after the 3M Open last year, is you're starting to see signs of a guy who is historically bad in 1 or 2 categories, starting to turn that around, and you're wondering, okay, can he put all of that together to get a high finish? Well, Putnam's got 3 top 10s in his last 6 starts. And what I really like about his top 10s is they're kind of all different. You get a desert course at Phoenix. You get a Puerto Rico Open, which is just your absolute tropical course, easy field. And then you get API, which is deep field, difficult golf course. So to see him do it in all situations is impressive, and I think it is a real testament to what he's doing with his game right now. So not normally the type of guy that I invest in is Andrew Putnam, but for this week at 80 to 1, and I actually got him. I sprinkled an 80. Like I'm not super stoked about it, but I made a larger bet on his top 10 number, which is 6.5 to 1. And then finally, I haven't bet this yet, but Sam Ryder's hanging a 100 to 1 number. And he's hanging a 9 to 1 top 10. He's coming off back-to-back top 10s. And I'm just wondering if here's his round. I guess I should show you by tournament instead of round by round. We don't know what he did at Punta Cana because there's no shot link data there, but he finished runner-up. What he did at Honda would be the absolute blueprint. Like if I could just copy and paste this every single week for all of my golfers, this is the exact guy that I would want to invest in. Gains a ton on approach, gains a little bit off the tee, gains a little bit around the green, gains a little bit with the putter. Like that is, it's absolutely perfect. I smile when I see something like this, and he's been a pretty decent ball striker over the course of the past couple of months. So he might be in the midst of a real hot stretch right now, really strong game, and I would have expected, he could have easily have been shorter than Andrew Putnam. If he was 70 to 1, I would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. 100 to 1, which then of course trickles into his top 5, his top 10, his top 20 numbers. So I think that because the outright number is longer than it should be, the rest of these numbers are probably longer than they should be too. All right, let's do matchups. This is the head-to-head matchup simulator. So this just compares 2 golfers over a 4-round tournament and says how often is each golfer going to win. And the one that just, like, I've got to see what the result of this one is. It's Matt Kuchar versus Charles Howell III. Matt Kuchar has been poor. Wow, still better than Charles Howell III. I'm shocked by this. So I went back to the start of 2020. That means CH3 has not played all that well. You can see they're kind of trending in different directions a little bit. Matt Kuchar still has not had a top, I think it's a top 10 in a stroke play event since Genesis 2020, which would have been over a year ago. Now Charles Howell III, I guess he hasn't played as well as I thought he would. So I still have Kuchar winning this 52.5% of the time. Probably not enough to bet, although I'm not a big fan of Kuchar this week after playing 7 rounds over the course of 5 days. This one's interesting. Lonto Griffin versus Chris Kirk. I'm a big Lonto fan. Didn't play well at the match play. Kirk didn't play the match play. And Kirk has been really good recently and really good here. Yeah, I've got Kirk. You can see they're kind of similar until recently, until essentially the end of 2020 into the start of 2021. Chris Kirk has been phenomenal. And I have been winning this matchup 58% of the time. I have his projected money line at -142. He's actually the dog on DraftKings. He is -110 to Lonto Griffin's -120. So that would be a bet for me on the Chris Kirk side. And let me see if I can find one more of these. How about 2 guys that need to win to get in to the Masters? Ricky Fowler versus Joel Damon. Damon just coming off of a victory. All right, here we go. I've got this dead even. Wow. I mean, Damon's been really, really sour, especially, kind of after the restart last year. Struggled. He had missed, 3 or 4 cuts in a row. Fowler hasn't been all that good either, but I've got it at almost a complete coin flip. Let me see if I can find one more real quick. Connors versus Scheffler could be interesting. Our defending champion versus a guy who just made a deep run in the match play. I have Scheffler winning this 54% of the time. He should be -120, and that's basically what he is on DraftKings. So, okay. So I think we've got one bet out of this, Kirk over Lonto, and then you can plug in the rest of these if you want. One and done update. Let's do it. Dell Technologies in the books. That was the first event of segment 1. So this is the second event. Or I'm sorry. First event of segment 3. So Valero is the second event. I will update the standings. I'll add a spot for segment 3 in here as well. But overall standings, we've got a handful of guys over $9 million. Remember, we started at the Safeway Open. We started at the beginning of the season. Chappy Chaps in the lead. Castor Joshua, Nash the Flash, Ugri, and Graybo all over $9 million. I'm lurking. I'm in 17th. I'm lurking. I'm coming for you guys. I just got to have another big week here shortly. So what are we going to do this week for one and done? Well, it is not necessarily a huge purse. I think it's 7.7 million with the winner probably getting, call it 1.2, 1.3. And I suspect that with the great course history is going to be a lot of chalk on that side. I think you're going to get a lot of this. Like Corey Connors, your defending champion, who's averaging, $700,000 per start here at TPC San Antonio, or Charlie Hoffman, who has, is now making his is this his 14th start? I actually thought this was his 15th start. Has never missed a cut, has won this event, has been phenomenal, and he's playing well. I think Charlie Hoffman is going to get a lot of run. I'm generally the kind of guy who likes to keep the foot on the pedal. I'm really considering running out Spieth here. He is playing great. The field got much weaker with Dustin Johnson's withdrawal. I don't know if people are going to save Spieth for next week. I'm not going to play Spieth next week at the Masters. So if you're saving him, I guess I understand, but he might have more win equity in it with a smaller purse in a field that is significantly weaker this week. He might, if you ran this a million times, he might average like $300,000 here, and he might average like 200,000 at the Masters, even though it's a bigger purse, but it's a deeper field. So if I don't go with one of the kind of chalky guys, and the chalky guys, like I might roll out Steele, like Steele, Kirk, Hoffman are all, I think, fine. I think Hoffman's going to be too popular, so I would probably take either Kirk or Steele. If I'm feeling really frisky, I will take Spieth. If I'm feeling even friskier than that, I haven't used Hideki yet, I don't think. And we're kind of past where Hideki's natural spots are, which would be like waste management. We're past. that would be a bit of a flyer for me because I'm trying to be early on Hideki, but I think Kirk, Steele, Hoffman, even Palmer, and then depending on what you're going to do with Spieth is a viable option. Connors will be popular too, but I don't think I need to play Connors. I think that's it. Let me know what you're going to do this week. Tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Yeah, best of luck. Talk to you guys soon.